Off on the case and so today we're gonna watch tonight we're gonna watch this anime. Oh my god, my mask.
Kota Ayamada encounters Shizuru Minamoto on the way to school, who repeatedly tries seducing him. Akane, their class representative, scolds them for their inappropriate behavior. They are joined by Chizuru's brother Tayura and their two other classmates, Kuriko and Yuki. This confrontation continues in the classroom, where Akane tries to uphold public morals. Mr. Yatsuka encounters Chizuru and remarks on her being a problem child. Elsewhere, the large and imposing third-year Ryu discusses Chizuru's recent actions with Omi and Mio. Omi is eager to act, but Ryu dissuades him from doing anything reckless. During lunch, Chizuru continues her alluring acts on Kota, causing a frustrated Omi to fire a blast of wind in their direction. Kota then receives a love letter from Chizuru, and he meets with her at the music room. There, they kiss deeply, and in the heat of the moment, Chizuru's real form as a kitsune is revealed, startling Kota. She tells him that several other students of the school are also yokai spirits. He can report her if he wishes, but she would be forced to transfer as a result. He reassures her that this is not the case, and as they try to continue where they left off, Tayura suddenly bursts into the room and accosts his sister for her mingling with a human. To prove their bond, Chizuru kisses Kota again, possessing him, which she points out is only possible if their hearts are truly open to one another. She blasts Tayura outside with a foxfire, seriously damaging the building. Kota and Chizuru embrace once more, and they pick up where they left off. While escaping Chizuru's clutches, Kota runs into a young girl named Nozomu, devouring plate after plate of spare ribs. Kota instinctively senses that Nozomu is also a kitsune. The next day he finds Chizuru in his bed again, and he narrowly escapes her feminine wiles. On the way to school, Chizuru erects a spiritual barrier that prevents people from entering. She undresses and begins to eat up Kota, but Nozomu suddenly appears and smashes through the barrier. Kota and Chizuru are then seen half-naked by the entire street, causing an uproar and a scolding by Akane. He is lectured in the classroom, and is labeled an arrow master by the female students, but Chizuru defends his honor by saying that he has never once turned his attention to another girl. Suddenly, Nozomu enters the room and clings onto Kota, causing another scandal. Chizuru is restrained by Mr. Yatsuka for causing trouble, but when she learns Nozomu is a wolf, she slips free and looks for Kota. The two end up fighting over Kota's affections, complicating matters further. While soaking in the baths, Chizuru barges in, intending to further their physical relationship to ward off Nozomu. However, Nozomu joins in, and the two end up arguing over the merits of a flat or busty chest. The scene proves to be too much stimulation for Kota, and he passes out from blood loss. The next day, Kota, still exhausted from the day before, tries to rest at the infirmary. However, his rest is cut short when both Chizuru and Nozomu slip into his bed, and he ends up passing out again. Kota wakes up to find that Chizuru had made him breakfast, part of her plan to sneak her way into his heart, but the flavor leaves a lot to be desired. On the way to school, Nozomu, with a monotone voice and wooden acting, pretends to bump into Kota, playing on the popular shoujo manga trope. As she continues to use cliché lines in school, an infuriated Chizuru recognizes her monologues from her magazines. The two begin competing over Kota using their respective home cooking, but neither of their food is any good, and Kota is sent to the clinic. Chizuru and Nozomu are later scolded by Mr. Yatsuka for causing a commotion. Ryu enters the room and warns them to keep their heads low, as certain people don't take kindly to yokai associating with humans. The rivalry continues for several days, and the dishes they make start becoming even more bizarre. They begin causing trouble for others, and Akane tells them that he should be able to scold Chizuru when she gets out of hand, as appeasing her won't help anyone. Kota is
Guys, hold on, man.
interrupted by Omi, who has grown resentful of Chizuru's actions. However, his wind blast accidentally hits Kota instead. Omi gets a sinking feeling in his stomach, as harming humans is completely against the rules. To atone for his mistake, Mio, a frog yokai, is forced to produce oil for Chizuru to rub all over Kota. To her chagrin, Nozomu joins in. The next day, as the girls present Kota with another set of lunch boxes, he decides to put his foot down. He threatens Chizuru with punishment if she does not start behaving herself, but this sudden outburst causes her to run out. He chases her to a prep room, where it is revealed that she was merely acting. She presents herself to Kota for punishment, and although reluctant at first, he begins spanking her. Chizuru, frustrated that Nozomu seems to undermine her at every turn, uses Tayura's suggestion to use a love potion to win over Kota. The pair head to a room filled with forbidden items, and she finds a bunny girl costume that captures the love of others for their whole lives. She eagerly puts it on, but to her horror, she is unable to take it off. She races to Kota, but her mood shifts when she sees him visibly pleased with her outfit. Later, she reports to Sahara and Yetsuka, who informs her that they currently have no information on the cursed costume. That night, she and Kota are interrupted by Nozomu and her friends, who snuck into his room to spy on the two. The next morning, they find it odd that Chizuru is not her upbeat self. Her condition suddenly worsens, and she is sent to the clinic. The teachers have discovered that the bunny outfit is the product of a Joro spider, who made the outfit to drain the life energy of men. Elsewhere, Akane attempts to forcibly cut the costume, but her clothes suddenly change into a nurse's uniform, and an unseen power forces her to spread her legs, which catches Tayura's perverted eyes. Chizuru suddenly flies out, transforming the clothes of nearby girls as she goes. She ends up in the tennis court, where the vengeful Joro spirit makes herself known. After causing further trouble, Sahara informs them that the Joro plans to take over Chizuru's spirit and revive herself. Kota chases Chizuru to the auditorium, and to break the Joro's control over Chizuru, the two kiss, allowing her to possess his body. Together they blast the Joro to ashes with a giant foxfire, restoring the school to normal. Chizuru and Kota are interrupted by the arrival of Saku, Nozomu's older brother. He attaches a cursed bracelet onto Kota, and when a suspicious Chizuru tries to pry it off, Kota suddenly succumbs to a sudden pain in his chest. When she confronts Saku about the bracelet, he reveals that it's an abstinence band, and if its user is sexually aroused, then it may lead to his death. Saku will consider removing it if Chizuru agrees to be his woman, but she refuses. Chizuru is now forced to forego seeing Kota altogether, as she cannot help but flirt with him if she does. The next few days are brutal, and she is reduced to simply watching him from afar, as she slowly undergoes a withdrawal from a lack of Kota. Kota also becomes worried when he stops seeing Chizuru, and even Akane and the others agree that things seem quiet without her. Kota decides to visit Chizuru's apartment, but she holds herself back from jumping into his arms. Tayura, concerned for his sister's well-being, enlists the help of Mio and Omi to confront Saku. However, Saku proves to be too powerful a foe. Omi's wind blasts and Tayura's foxfires deal negligible damage to Saku, while they are unable to deal with Saku's speed and power. Chizuru finally arrives to see her brother and friends badly injured. In a righteous fury, she transforms into her fox form to battle him. Kota, with Nozomu's help, rushes over to the site of the battle. He finds Chizuru barely alive and kisses her. By merging as one, their combined foxfire blast completely obliterates through Saku's guard, defeating him in one blow. Saku concedes defeat and removes the bracelet from Kota's wrist. Saku later bids them farewell and tells the popular Kota to take care of Chizuru. He later reports to certain individuals that Chizuru and Kota's power is not to be taken lightly. Kota plans to spend the New Year's in peace, but his hopes are dashed when Chizuru barges into his room. Elsewhere, Tayura tries to work up the courage to ask out Akane to visit the shrine, while Omi and Mio head out together. Chizuru is delighted when Kota appears pleased with her kimono. She begins distracting him while he performs calligraphy, and eventually reveals that she has a school swimsuit underneath. Regardless, Kota begins enjoying his time with Chizuru, but when they start playing a board game that seems riddled with lewd orders, his chastity is endangered. Nozomu enters unannounced and joins in. Kota decides to bring them out to the shrine. Chizuru prays to be able to do more lewd things to Kota, resulting in many piercing stares from the guys around them. While suggestively eating candied apples and cotton candy, they run into Tayura, whom Chizuru makes fun of for being alone. Chizuru and Nozomu are blessed with good luck charms, but Kota and Tayura unfortunately receive bad luck charms, which suspiciously says that a certain someone is getting in the way of their love life. They soon run into Omi and Mio, and eventually Yuki, Kuriko, and Akane. Tayura awkwardly tries to greet her properly, but to no avail. A stressed-out Akane ends up getting drunk on sweet sake, and they end up enjoying the rest of the festivities. They then invite themselves over to Kota's house, further annoying Chizuru, who wants her alone time with Kota back. Yukihana, a servant of Chizuru's mother, arrives to try and dissuade her from pursuing a relationship with Kota, as most human yokai relationships are strained. She refuses and declares that the two share a deep and unbreakable bond. To test their relationship, Yukihana unleashes a devastating blizzard on the school, trapping the students indoors. While Akane and the other students huddle around a heater to keep warm, Kota and the others search for Yukihana. They encounter a snowman, which Tayura has trouble defeating, but it simply breaks down into an army of small snowmen, swallowing him up and forcing the others to run. Meanwhile, Ren and Ai, twin sisters, use their survival skills to keep their classmates alive. However, Akane and the others are grossed out when they learn the food they are eating came from leftover scraps. Elsewhere, Kota begins succumbing to the cold, so Chizuru and Izumi keep him warm again using their own body heat. But that isn't the only thing getting steamy. Yukihana interrupts them again, pointing out that their classmates will start dying from hypothermia. Nozumi helps Kota and Chizuru escape, but Kota eventually collapses from the cold. Unwilling to leave him behind, Chizuru kisses him, activating their possession bond. Yukihana, recognizing their undeniable bond, apologizes for her heavy-handed test, as she was simply sent to observe the extent of their relationship. She puts an end to the snowstorm and invites Chizuru to present Kota at their mother's house. The students open the windows to see Chizuru in the nude, causing Akane to cry out for public morals. Kota and Fred an onsen, operated by Chizuru's mother, Tamamo. They are warmly welcomed, but Chizuru appears to have a strange relationship with her mother. As they settle into their rooms, Kota and Chizuru share a quiet moment together in the lobby, while Nozomu comes along and drags them to the baths. However, Tamamo enters the men's bath unannounced and offers to wash Kota's back. Chizuru, overhearing them angrily, tries to break down the barrier that Tamamo erected. She finally breaks through, but the combined allure of her and Tamamo's foxy figures causes Kota to faint. Tamamo serves a special nine-tailed drink during dinner, which is often used as an energy supplement for yokai, but serves as a makeshift love potion for humans. To Chizuru's horror, this causes Kota and Nozomu to fall for each other. She angrily tells Tamamo to fix things, but she replies that they simply have to wait for the effects to pass. Tayura tries to abuse the drink and try to get Akane to fall for him, but she instead falls in love with the sake bottle. Chizuru tries desperately to win over Kota, but her advances are rebuffed, and he begins being closer and more intimate with Nozomu. Chizuru is heartbroken, giving up and slipping into a depression. She clings onto his robe while she is stung by the pains of jealousy. Eventually, the effects of the drink wear off, and Kota searches for Chizuru. She's overjoyed he's back to normal and embraces him. They leave the next morning, and Tamamo remarks that Kota passed her little test, joking that she might fall for him too. Kota's younger sister Minori watches him being spoiled rotten by Chizuru and swears to rescue him from the clutches of the vixen. Ren and I, revealed to be spirit hunters, encounter Minori alongside her yokai servant, Nu. They are enlisted to assassinate Chizuru with the promise of a handsome reward in return. When their initial attempt fails, they instead decide to poison her drink. During lunchtime, they give Chizuru a lizard on a stick, and while she's distracted, they spike her drink. When Chizuru drinks it, her condition worsens, and Kota is forced to carry her to the infirmary. Once there, they are horrified to find that Chizuru's famous busty chest is now gone. Ren and I are confused, as the poison was supposed to seal a yokai's power. Chizuru is inconsolable at having her most defining feature taken away from her. She begins seriously considering suicide while Kota and the others try to comprehend what happened. Back at home, Chizuru further slips into depression when she's unable to properly spoil Kota due to her flat chest. He manages to encourage her enough for her to start a chest enlarging plan, instructing Tayura to find exotic ingredients across the globe, while charging Kota with massaging her chest. To his dismay, there is barely anything for him to grip properly. Nozomu suggested if he cannot knead her bread, then he should have cake. She has Chizuru turn over, and invites Kota to partake in Chizuru's cake. Ren and I receive secondhand arousal from afar, causing them to fail their assassination attempt again. While they continue Chizuru's chest massage therapy, they wonder where Tayura has gone. After Ren and I fail another assassination attempt, Tayura has finally returned with a bounty of chest-enhancing food. To his dismay, his stories of adventure are disregarded, and is simply told to prepare the food. Akane and the others observe them preparing the chest-enhancing drink. Ren and I's morale wavers when they observe Kota and Chizuru genuinely caring for one another. When the pair are invited out to a family restaurant, they eat a burger for the first time in their lives, and are further convinced of Chizuru's innocence. They report back to Minori to cancel their contract, but Yu disposes of them with a lightning bolt, as silhouettes of yokai appear in the background. The next day, the monstrous yokai invade the school, spreading sleeping sand to keep ordinary humans asleep. Ryu and the other yokai present defend the school with their lives. However, the tide turns against them when Nu arrives and begins wreaking havoc on their ranks. Kota and Chizuru descend the staircase to investigate the commotion, but Nu has already broken through the front entrance, effortlessly defeating both Tayura and Nozomu. Kota and Chizuru hide inside a music room, but Chizuru worries that she will be unable to fight due to her low spiritual power. Nu manages to corner them, but when all hope seems lost, Kota's desire to keep Chizuru safe awakens a strange power in his chest, and he assumes the form of a kitsune without having to kiss Chizuru. With his newfound power, he manages to go toe-to-toe with Nu, breaking through her snake grip and blasting away all enemy yokai in the area. With this unexpected development, Minori is forced to retreat. When Kota awakens, he finds that the possession has restored Chizuru's chest. To relax after the past day's events, Kota and the gang head to the beach. While switching into their swimwear, the girls are horrified to see that Nozomu's swimwear is nothing more than bandages. Without any extra swimsuits, they're forced to clothe her in gym clothes. Despite this, Kota and Tayura are still treated to a magnificent view of everyone else's swimsuits. Nozomu suddenly smells something nice in the distance. They follow the scent to a beachside restaurant operated by Tamamo. Chizuru angrily accuses her of scheming, but Tamamo replies that she is purely here for business. She teases her by having Kota feed her some ramen, causing Chizuru to throw a temper tantrum. Afterwards, they head out to enjoy themselves on the beach. After seeing Kota, Chizuru, and Nozomu rub sunscreen on each other, Tayura suggests to Akane that they do the same, as he is predictably punched in the face. Chizuru returns to the restaurant to order some drinks. Tamamo asks her if everything is going well with Kota, and she replies that they are. However, when she returns, she finds that Akane has drifted too far from shore. Tayura bravely dives in and rescues her, causing Akane to develop some affection for him. She later gives him a drink as thanks and invites him to eat together. They have a bountiful barbecue cooked by Tayura, and afterwards, Chizuru invites Kota to walk with her along the beach, remarking on the romantic mood it exudes. She then asks a surprisingly serious question. How does he feel about her? Days have passed since their beach trip, but Kota has yet to give Chizuru a proper answer. Tayura asks Akane out on a date, and as thanks for saving her life, she agrees. This new development surprises Kota, Chizuru, and Nozomu, who wonder if the pair are a good match for each other. This causes Kota to consider giving Chizuru an answer, and upon overhearing this, Chizuru begins orchestrating moments where the two can be alone together. However, circumstances prevent him from confessing his feelings, be it his own cowardice, Nozomu's interference, or simply a bad choice of location. During PE class, Kota observes Tayura doing a strange dance, hoping to get Akane's attention. He remarks that for Chizuru, a straightforward way of conveying her feelings is the best. After another failed attempt to get him to confess at a family restaurant, she decides to go on the attack instead. The next day, she snatches him and attempts to sexually assault him inside the music room. But when he still fails to find the words, she becomes even more frustrated and storms out. As it starts to rain, Kota, finally working up the courage to say his true feelings, searches high and low for Chizuru and finds her crying by a bridge. He professes his love for her, and she remarks that he is such a tease. She asks him if he knows the other name for a sun shower. When he does not answer, she replies that they're called foxes' weddings. In an epilogue, Nozomu accepts the two are together, but is satisfied with being his mistress. Chizuru is okay with this, and the pair embrace Kota together.
Hey, what's this one do?
Well, that's all for today, guys.
Let's find